Textexpander from Smile is supporting this edition of MacVoices. Textexpander can help you be more productive in every single application on your Mac. Find out how at textexpander.com. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is the second part of our discussion with Andrew Gould, the CEO of Squirrels. In the first part, we talked about their applications, AirParrot, Ditto, and Reflector, and exactly what they do and how they create their own little ecosystem for sharing video in a variety of ways. This time around, we pick up the conversation with some discussion of the educational market and what part Squirrels plays or can play, especially during COVID-19. So that brings up an interesting question. Is this a situation where AirParrot can deliver over the internet? And I'm honestly, I haven't thought through this enough to even ask the right question, but is that, in a situation like that, is AirParrot applicable, where you might be wanting to share just, say, one particular application and not show any others?
In a roundabout way, you could use it, but it's not its intended purpose. Really, AirParrot is designed for that local connection in the same place. Where we have seen teachers embracing is our Reflector application, which is that AirPlay receiver. It kind of creates a software version of an Apple TV, if you will, on your Mac or Windows computer. So if a teacher is teaching with an iPad and wants to be able to show their students remotely, I would have to hold it up like this to the web camera and say, do you see what's on the iPad here? But with our Reflector software, that device can pop up as a window on the screen that teachers then can share over Zoom or Teams or whatever solution that they're using. And then the students can see that nice, crisp, mirrored version of the iPad and then follow along with what they're doing. So we've seen a big uptick in Reflector sales as the remote education has been going on since everybody's been kind of working and learning from home. So that's been a huge solution that teachers have really embraced to make that transition a little bit easier for the kids.
Thank you for that example, because as I said, I hadn't thought it through the whole way, but that makes perfect sense as to that's an easy way to get your iPad screen onto the Mac, or for that matter, for a Windows laptop, that you could share it out with something like Zoom or Teams. So yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to try to save us both a little email. Because there are going to be those edge cases. There are always those people that want to push it the whole way out. So sure. What are the implications for this for watching or casting a movie up to my Apple TV or to any other device? And I'm thinking not only the quality of the video, but also the quality and resolution of the audio as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we want to do tech specs or just talk practically, but what are the implications? I almost forgot. Heaven forbid that we forget gaming.
Yes, of course.
Because gaming is another big thing. So is this something that would provide us an adequate experience or a great experience for those uses?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two different methods of sharing content. There's mirroring, which is real-time capturing what's on your screen frame by frame and then pushing it to the screen. And there's also streaming. So streaming is taking something and buffering it, maybe still doing some magic to kind of convert it over the air and then sending it wirelessly to an Apple TV. AirParrot can do both of those. There are pros and cons to each of those solutions. Streaming is ideal if you want picture perfect, no lag, no jitter, no latency. Streaming is great because we can buffer it. We can kind of anticipate that the network might hiccup for a second, and we can have that data queued up and ready to go, and we can retransmit it. When you're mirroring, it's as it happens. So if you're watching something on your laptop and it's happening in real time, we've got to capture that. We've got to transcode it, convert it, get it ready, send it over the wire, and then display it on your television. We're really good at that. We can do that with a really low latency. We've continually been updating and rewriting, and even in AirParrot 3, we've ratcheted up the performance even more. But you're still going to have, even in the best environment, you're going to have 20 milliseconds or so of latency, just the physical amount of time it takes to capture, grab it, transmit it, and display it on the end. So for things like gaming, if you're doing casual gaming, yeah, absolutely. If you're playing Fortnite and you're depending on being 5 milliseconds faster on the click than the person that's shooting at you, may not be as great of a solution for you. But if it's a more casual game, something like where you're not obsessing over the frames per second or the latency, it's a more than adequate solution. But in mirroring, we can do 60 frames per second 1080p video, which is high quality. It's more than enough to see tiny text on an Excel spreadsheet. And it looks really good when you're streaming video or mirroring video or mirroring a game or something like that. Where AirParrot really shines, though, is on the streaming side, because we can stream up to 4K video wirelessly to an Apple TV 4K, for instance. So anything that's H.265 or HEVC, we can actually stream that to your Apple TV in its native resolution with all of the audio included in it. So when you're mirroring, you're just going to end up with 2-channel stereo, pretty standard audio capture. But when you're streaming, if it's 5.1.7.1 that's encoded in the file that you're sharing, we pass that right along up to the Apple TV, so you'll get that. So if you have a file that you downloaded from a legal source that you want to share up to your Apple TV, it's encoded in HEVC, which is Apple's high efficiency video codec. We'll send that along in the same format. We'll send along the 7.1 audio that it's encoded in. We'll even pass along the subtitles if the file has it and you like to watch your movies with subtitles on. All of that gets streamed to the Apple TV from AirParrot 3.
And again, because you're using AirParrot, it's not going out to the internet, not touching the internet. It's just going over your local home network.
Correct.
And I'm assuming, is it fair to say that network could be wired or wireless?
Yes. We recommend wired anywhere you can. Wireless is great, but when things are flying through the air, they're bouncing off of things. They're going through walls. There's other radio channels that it's interfering with. So I always recommend, at a bare minimum, have your Apple TV plugged into Ethernet if you can on your network, because that's kind of one half of the equation that you don't have to worry about. But yeah, it works great on Wi-Fi. And if you really need that rock solid, I need it to work every single time without any hiccups, then Ethernet is the best way to go on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, whenever I'm doing these shows, I always go hardwired, because it's not that the wireless isn't capable of it, but like you say, there can always be something. Or there can be somebody else that decides they want to watch a video or something from YouTube right at the moment that I don't want them to, and then everything degrades. And so
Yeah,
if you're going wired, that's absolutely, obviously, the best way to do it.
Yes.
This is really intriguing. I've learned some things here, that some capabilities and some use cases that I would not have thought about for AirParrot. And you've explained a number of them. Anything else that you've seen come across your desk that is out of the ordinary, or that might open people's eyes to what can be done with this?
Yeah, one major thing that we haven't talked about is when you're sharing from a Mac, you can share it to a particular Apple TV, but you can't share it to multiple Apple TVs at the same time. AirParrot can do that. If you want to share to 10 Apple TVs on a bunch of TVs all over the place at the same time, AirParrot lets you do that. You're really just limited by the network and how much it can handle, how many streams. I've seen a concert producer that was using AirParrot to run the videos that appear on the screens behind an artist when they're up on stage. And they were doing that wirelessly, which I was like, oh, you should really do that with Ethernet. I got a little nervous, just like, yeah, do you really want that to hiccup when, somebody's up on stage and all of a sudden the video hiccups for a second? But yeah, they were using it for that. And they were just had a bunch of screens with Apple TVs behind them, and they were pushing content to that from AirParrot. So they were running multiple streams from one computer out to a bunch of Apple TV devices and sharing it all at the same time. And you can mix and match. So you can have Apple TVs and Chromecasts receiving content from the same computer, multiple devices, wherever. So we've seen lots of cool uses movie editors, video production, a lot of that kind of stuff. They love AirParrot because it really lets them push what they're capable of doing and having content flying all over the place and sharing on lots of different screens all at the same time.
Forgive me, I just want to be absolutely sure that we understand. You can send us to let's say my bedroom TV, my bedroom Apple TV, my kitchen Apple TV, the living room Apple TV. I don't have to have Reflector running on any of those or anything else. I can send those directly, but if I have Reflector on, say, a Fire TV somewhere, I can send that as well.
Yeah, and you can do it all at the same time.
Wow.
There's sometimes where I'll be watching a soccer match and I'm cleaning my house and I'm kind of, between rooms, and I'll just open up AirParrot and just throw it to, my 3 or 4 TVs around the house. And so I've always got the game on. I didn't have to go and tune every TV to it. Just say, mirror from my browser tab to all of my Apple TVs, and boom, the game's there. And it's all, within a few milliseconds in sync, so you don't get weird like audio echo from different rooms, and it's super cool. It's one of those things where when it just works, you're just like, wow. Even when we first made it work, I was like, man, that's really cool.
Well, and I can think of cord cutting applications here too, because where I live, I don't get great TV reception. And so it's one of those things where you almost go to one spot in the house and hold one arm out one direction and one leg out the other, and then you can get a really good signal. And if you could get that with AirParrot, then I could cast it throughout the house without any trouble and be in complete control of it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lots of applications.
Yeah, and like I said, when we designed these, we had all these crazy applications in mind, and then people, came and added new things to it. There was one doctor that was on vacation, and they were doing like an emergency like endoscopy on this patient, and it was like a PC connected camera. So the camera, they put it down the patient's like esophagus, and they were checking it, and they needed the doctor's like second opinion on it. And so they used AirParrot to share that to like a video conferencing solution. And then the doctor called into that, and they could actually see this device, which wasn't, connected to the internet, but they were able to share it from one computer to another computer that was able to connect to the internet. And so they had this crazy, like, I think it might have been like GoToMeeting at the time, but they had this GoToMeeting that the endoscopy computer was being shared to, and then the doctor was able to remotely give a diagnosis on something that was going on. So it's like, you can never design a product for that solution. Somebody just has to sort of, MacGyver that together and realize that you can do stuff with it. So yeah, I'm sure all of your listeners and users will come up with even, more unique and crazy solutions for it. And we always encourage people just to write in or mention us on Twitter with the crazy things that you come up with to do with our software, because we love hearing what people are doing with it. And sometimes it sparks us with ideas of new things that we can do in the future.
MacVoices is supported by Smile, the makers of world-class software like Textexpander. If there is one productivity utility that you check out this month, it should be Textexpander. That's a pretty bold statement, so let me explain. Textexpander is one of those utilities that will benefit any Apple user, because we all have things that we type over and over. That means you are wasting time typing those things over and over. That means you might get sloppy with it and make mistakes in typing those things over and over. Textexpander to the rescue. In literally seconds, you can set up a short string of characters that text expands into those things that you type over and over. Automatically, quickly, correctly every single time. And those things can be as short as your email address or as long as a several-page set of instructions on how to change the bag in your vacuum cleaner. Whatever. The point is that everyone can get something out of Textexpander, even at its most basic level. And believe me, there is a whole lot more on top of that basic level. For now, though, visit smilesoftware.com/podcast to download a demo version of Textexpander, install it, and start being more productive in a few minutes. That's smilesoftware.com/podcast for your copy of Textexpander. And while you're there, be sure to check out PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro, two other world-class utilities from Smile. Thank you to Smile for being the longest-running sponsor of MacVoices. you just know that in that situation, there's this one technician that says, "Hey, I've got an idea." And everybody looks at him like, "Are you out of your mind?" And then when you pull something like that off, it is so satisfying.
Uh-huh.
That's great. That is, yeah. It's got to be. It has to be gratifying for you to hear success stories like that, and you're right. If folks will share success stories like that, it gives you ideas for maybe other capabilities that would not be hard to build in. You just never think of them.
Right. Yeah. If maybe somebody comes up with a solution that's, hey, I connected this to that to get this to happen, we could say, oh, well, we could just build that right into AirParrot and skip those other two steps that you would have to worry about. And now the product gets better. And there may be other people out there that need to do that same thing that haven't even realized that they have that problem. So yeah, we love to hear what people do with it. And then we take that and come up with new ideas of how to make either that particular application better or a whole new application that can do, a more tailored thing to a specific industry or niche or solution that people are trying to come up with.
This is why I love to talk to developers. Unfortunately, there's almost no way for you to explain, the 75 to 150 different use cases that you know about for AirParrot or for Ditto. And that's one of the challenges I would think for you all is getting the communication out to be able to say, oh yeah, AirParrot will let me take this and put it over there, or take this and put it over there. Well, that's great because that's accurate, but it doesn't really give you the full depth of what is possible here if you just explore a little.
Yeah, it's like if somebody that makes a utility knife is trying to explain all the ways you might be able to use that utility knife. There's the obvious, oh, you can cut things, you can do it. And then somebody in a pinch comes up with some crazy thing, or, oh, I use that to pry two rocks apart to strike up a fire or something people just take it and run with it. You can never, ever design or imagine what people are going to do with the stuff. So that's why it's so cool to make it for one particular thing and just set it loose and then see what people come up with.
Yeah. Well, I hope folks will go and check this out. Is there any kind of demo version of this for people to get a taste of it?
Yeah. So there's a 7-day free trial, and it's full functionality. The only thing is there's a watermark that appears that just says trial mode. But other than that, it's the full application, so you can see the full capability. We don't degrade the quality or anything like that. So what you get is what you'll buy. And then if you decide that it works out for you, it's just $15.99 for a license. Or if you have Mac and Windows computers, you can buy a universal license if you want to share that between multiple installs. So you can say like, oh, sometimes I use it on my Mac, but sometimes we use it on your Windows computer. We say, hey, just pay us $19.99 and you can use that license kind of back and forth.
So if I buy a license from you, am I able to use that on multiple machines? And I know what you just said about, Mac versus Windows, but if I have like 5 Macs in the house, do I need 5 licenses or do I need 1?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's per computer that you basically run it on. And we use the honor system on that. So it's not going to be like Adobe Photoshop where if you accidentally open it on the other computer, we're going to be like, no, you can't use this. You have to close the other copy. We trust our users to do that in a responsible way. But each computer should have its own license, and there's a little bit of leeway that we give customers on that. So we don't want to mess up their workflow or just suddenly close the app because somebody else opens it on another Mac on the network or something like that.
Right. So, do you do bulk licensing of any? I'm thinking back to the school system example.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah. So we do bulk licensing, and we have the way our license keys work is you can basically have one sort of master key, so you don't have to maintain like 50 different license keys. We can generate you one key that's good for 50 seats, which makes it a lot easier to manage and maintain that. And we also have deployment tools, both for Mac and Windows, that allow you to do like a Active Directory. I know this is a Mac show, but whatever the Windows like provisioning stuff is, you can push a registry key out that has that information on it, or you can make like a plist on Macs and push that out remotely, so you don't have to sit down in front of each computer and type the license key in. So we've tried to make it easier for those IT people when they do purchase in bulk, to make it easier to push that out and deploy.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So what kind of pricing do we have for Ditto?
So Ditto is a subscription service, because it does have some of that cloud infrastructure that goes along with that. And it's $149 per screen per room. So if you've got a conference room with one screen, it's $150 per year for that capability, which is much more expensive than what AirParrot is. But if you look at it from the scope of, if you had to buy AirParrot for every user that might come into that conference room, you could easily be 10 times that. If you have 1,500 users that are all sharing conference rooms, buying AirParrot could actually end up being more expensive than the $150 per room for Ditto. So Ditto, like I said, it's great for the enterprise. There's no license keys that you have to manage. Again, it makes that IT life a little bit easier. And then it's just for that one particular screen that makes it easy to connect to.
Right. And I mean, for what you're getting, the capability, there's no question about it. I mean, that's so much more affordable, like I said earlier, in that solution that my associates were looking at. It's like, why would you spend that much money when you can do this? And Ditto even makes it better. So, and
Yeah,
while we're at it, let's just talk about Reflector. What kind of pricing there as well?
So similar pricing on that. I believe it's $17.99 for Reflector, and that is also available on on Mac and Windows. And it's a similar licensing concept, one per device, so per Mac or Windows computer that you're running that on. And I believe it's $4.99 for the Android version, which is a little bit cheaper. If you need to put that on an Android TV or a Fire TV, it's available in the Google Play Store as well as the Amazon Fire Store.
Perfect. Drew, thank you. This has been enlightening and entertaining too. I feel like I need to go and learn a little more about what I can do with AirParrot. I'm afraid I've been limiting myself. So thanks for the insight. The website where folks can go to learn more about all of this.
Yeah, so you can go to airparrot.com. It's air, A-I-R, parrots like the bird.com. And then if you're interested in Reflector, it's reflectorapp.com, so app.com. And then Ditto is goditto.com, goditto.com. If you get any of those confused, you can just go to airsquirrels.com, A-I-R squirrels with an S. That's our company website, and they have links there for all of the different products that we offer.
Great. Last question, and I love to ask developers this: why squirrels?
That's a common question, if you can imagine. So when we started Squirrels, we actually had another company that preceded Squirrels, and it was called Napkin Studio, and it was one of the very first iOS app development companies. We had one of the first 200 iOS apps on the App Store, back when you could get to the bottom of the list of the App Store. But it was an app called What's On. It was a TV guide app where you could basically punch in your zip code, pick what TV provider you had, and then it would show you a list of channels and what shows were on. You could set favorites, reminders, alerts. Sounds sort of archaic now, but in 2008, that was pretty exciting technology. But while we were doing Napkin Studio, we came up with these ideas that became Reflector and AirParrot. And because they were just different in focus from what we were working on, we decided just to make kind of a separate company for them. And my business partner, Dave, his nickname in school was Squirrel because he would climb things. He worked in this remote area that had wireless internet, where he would climb up these big cell phone towers and like work on these repeaters and those kinds of things. So Squirrel just sort of was a name that stuck with him. And we just thought it'd be kind of funny to name a company Squirrels. And the products ended up being hugely popular. And so we sort of just built a brand around it that worked out really naturally. So it sort of was a tongue-in-cheek joke that evolved into a serious but still playful brand that's resonates and people remember it. It's not easily forgotten.
That's a great story, and I always think it's interesting to figure out what the genesis of those kind of stories is, because there usually is one somewhere. You didn't just pick up the dictionary, stick your thumb in, and say, "Oh, we're going to name our company this." There's always a reason. So thank you for sharing that. That's great. That's great.
Of course.
Thank you again so much for the time. This has been really, really fun, and I hope that you'll come back again when there are more enhancements to any of these programs and educate us a little bit on what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, and look forward to coming back soon.
Great. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. I'll have links in the show notes directly to all of the app sites, if you will. But if not, just go to the main website, check them all out. I'm anxious to play with some of this stuff that I didn't know it could do, and you probably are too. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.